Camryn Justice just went on 92.3 The Fan and said something that every Browns fan needs to hear. She gave Shedeur Sanders a 70 to 80% chance of being the Week 1 starter, but then she said 5 words that could blow the whole thing up. We're breaking it all down right now.
Ooh, that's a good question. Oh, I hate percentages. I'm going to say 60-40.
60-40 Shedeur.
I wanted you to go
60-40.
more specifically, like 63.7%. That would have been better.
Okay, 63.8%. How about that? No, I think there's a very good chance of it. Right now, as the roster stands, I think it's clear there's a competition between Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson.
Camryn Justice reveals what could shake up Shedeur Sanders' chances of starting for the Browns, and this is bigger than most people are letting on. She was on 92.3 The Fan sitting down with Spencer, and Spencer asked her a direct question. What are the real odds that Shedeur Sanders is the QB1 for Cleveland when Week 1 kicks off this season? And Camryn Justice, who covers this team every single day, who is in that building, who gives you the real information on what is happening with the Browns, she did not dodge it. She gave a real answer. And part of that answer, people are sleeping on it. Here's what she said first. As the roster currently stands, there is a competition between Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson. Dillon Gabriel is in the room too, but she was clear. Shedeur's ceiling showed higher than Dillon's last season. That conversation is done. Shedeur edges Dillon, full stop. So now you've got 2 real competitors for that starting job. And when you actually break down that competition honestly, it isn't close. Deshaun Watson has played 16 games in 6 years with this franchise. 6 years, 16 games. And when he was healthy and on the field, it still wasn't good enough to move the needle in Cleveland. We have not seen Deshaun Watson play at the level this offense needs since before that Achilles injury. And even before the injury, the production wasn't there consistently. That is not an opinion, that is the record. So when training camp opens, Shedeur Sanders should be taking those first-team reps. Todd Monken should be putting the ball in his hands from day 1 and letting him prove he belongs. Shedeur is already back in Colorado right now, putting in the conditioning work, doing exactly what Andrew Berry asked him to do. You're going to start seeing him throwing in April, getting ready, staying ready. That is what you want to see from your franchise quarterback. Camryn Justice put his odds at 70 to 80% if he cleans up the things that have already been identified. Making better reads, not forcing throws into tight windows, being smarter with the football and protecting it. And here is why those specific things matter so much right now. Todd Monken is a quarterback developer. That is his identity as a coach. We saw it at Georgia. We saw it in Baltimore. He builds quarterbacks. And what Camryn Justice said is that Monken sees exactly the kind of raw material he can work with in Shedeur. The game-making ability, the arm talent, the instincts to create plays when things break down. A developer coach will take that every single time. But now this is where Camryn Justice reveals what could shake up Shedeur Sanders' chances of starting for the Browns, and this is the part you cannot skip past. She said the one thing, the only thing that changes those percentages is who comes in as the 4th quarterback. And she was direct about it. She said that player could rattle everything, not shift things slightly, not create a minor storyline, rattle everything. Whether Andrew Berry drafts a quarterback, signs one in free agency, or makes a trade, there will be a 4th arm in that room by the time camp opens. And depending on who that player is and what he shows, the entire competition changes. Shedeur goes from 70 to 80% to something different, up or down, based entirely on that one move. So the pressure right now is not just on Shedeur. The pressure is on Andrew Berry to make the right decisions around him, because this is Shedeur's team in 2026. This is his year, and if he goes out there and performs the way we believe he can, Cleveland will not be back in the quarterback market for a long time. But Berry has to give him weapons. Look at the wide receiver room right now. You've got Jerry Jeudy, who is talented but needs to be pushed every single day. You've got Isaiah Bond, an undrafted free agent going into his second year as your number 2 option. You've got tight end Haram Fannin still developing in that role. That is not a veteran group. That is a young, developing group. And a second-year quarterback trying to establish himself needs at least one proven, been-there-done-that receiver who can take the top off a defense and make defenses respect the pass. So what should Andrew Berry do? Brandon Ayuk is available. The 49ers have already said they're not bringing him back. Berry tried to get him 2 years ago and missed. The door might be open again. That is a proven, dynamic receiver who elevates everything around him. There is also A.J. Brown from Philadelphia, and yes, the price will be high, but you're talking about one of the most physical wide receivers in football. A guy who goes up and gets contested catches. A guy who forces defensive coordinators to game plan around him. A guy who pushes Jerry Jeudy to be better just by being in the same building. And then you've still got the draft. Denzel Boston out of Washington, 6'4", 210, catches the ball at its highest point, massive catch radius. That dude is going to be a problem in this league. Carell Tate, Jordan Tyson from Arizona, Mia Lemons from USC. There are real options at receiver in this draft class. Here is the move. Use the first 2 picks on wide receivers. Lock in a veteran through trade or free agency to complement Jeudy and push him. Then use the later rounds to keep adding offensive line depth, because those linemen coming out of college still need to be developed, and George Warhop is a developmental coach who can grow those guys over time. The foundation is there. The run game will be there. Now you build around Shedeur with weapons. The word for this Brown season is development. Shedeur developing under Monken, the young receivers developing, the draft picks developing. But development only works when you have veteran pieces around it, and right now, at the wide receiver position, that veteran piece is missing. Andrew Berry struck gold in last year's draft. 6 picks hit. All of them contributed, but they weren't enough to win games consistently, because you still need proven players who have done it before. The offensive line has that, 2 All-Pros. The wide receiver room does not. That has to change this offseason. Camryn Justice reveals what could shake up Shedeur Sanders' chances of starting for the Browns, and this is the answer that is one roster move away from being answered. Watch who Andrew Berry puts in that 4th quarterback. Watch who he brings in at receiver, because those 2 decisions will tell you everything about what this season is going to look like for Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns. I need you to settle this debate right now in the comments. Does Andrew Berry trade for A.J. Brown, go after Brandon Ayuk, or spend those first 2 picks on wide receivers? One answer only. Drop it below. Let's see where Browns Nation stands.